Hello, everyone, and we are here for another post-match live stream. Please, everyone, like, subscribe, comment if you're watching this back in the future. But we're talking about Sunderland's 2-1 win against Brentford. I'm doing this as a live. I know people don't necessarily watch as it's live, and that's totally fine. It's just more so that I can get this video done and can be off the cuff. And if there's any questions, also answer them. So, Sunderland beat Brentford 2-1. It was a proper battle, it's fair to say today. I think Sunderland were organised as they were against Burnley last week, as they were against West Ham as well. I thought Sunderland came into the game and they had a plan, they had a game plan, and I thought they executed it pretty well. Also, anyone who's watching, please comment and let me know your thoughts as well, and any questions, all that sort of stuff. We'll go through that. Let's go through the initial review of the game though. So obviously a huge win for Sunderland. Picking up points at home is vital. The Stadium Light has to be a fortress this season, and you've got to beat established Premier League teams if you want to stay up the season. And we've done that. We've got 2 wins against established Premier League teams. And look, we can talk about the strength, particularly of West Ham. I think people look at West Ham and say they're not the greatest of teams, but Brentford have had a decent start of the season. They've won back-to-back games in the League and Cup. They're no mugs, and they're very physical. They're strong on the counter-attack. You can see what they want to do today. They didn't want to have lots of the ball. We've talked about on this channel a lot about fears of playing against a low block. Well, Brentford were pretty defensive today, willing to let Sunderland have it. Sunderland had more possession than Brentford, which is obviously something we don't really want. But to come through that is really, really impressive. It felt like a chess game, if I'm being totally honest. It was not a great watch. I can't imagine a neutral enjoyed it until the 77th minute when Brentford took the lead. I mean, there was, I suppose, a missed penalty as well in there, but it was not a great game of football. But Sunderland, they've come out on the right side of it. And last week against Burnley, we talked about how we didn't come out on the right side of it. It was a nothing game. In that one, I didn't think Burnley were better than Sunderland. Just they had their moments of quality. They scored it, and we didn't score our moments of quality. Well, today, it was the other way. We managed to score with our moment of quality. We get a penalty, we score ours, they miss theirs, and that's sort of the story of the game. So let's go through anyway what happened in the match. First half, from a Sunderland perspective, not really much to write home about. I think he had one chance when Mukiele fired it over. There was an Alderete volley right at the end of the half, which missed. I think it deflected out for a corner. Brentford had a disallowed goal, and it was like a midgie's pube offside. That's like the luck you need in the Premier League. I mean, it was so marginal. I thought watching it in real time that he was just onside, but obviously with the semi-automated offsides that you have in the Premier League, they can see that he is like honestly a tiny amount over, but he is offside. That's why the system's there. And look, Sunderland will be hurt by this. It's this season at some point. There will be games where we'll be denied by VAR decisions, but today, obviously, that one's fallen in our favour. We'll skip the second half, though. Brentford missed a penalty, and it was a soft foul by Reinildo. I've watched it back once, and, I can see why it's given. The VAR is never going to overturn that sort of decision. Penalty, though, is missed by Schade. He it's a good save from Roefs, and the way that he pushes it, it must have been 30 yards up the field with his save. It was such a powerful save, but it was not a great penalty from Schade. I'm sure he'll be upset about that one tonight, but hey-ho, that's not our problem. Then Brentford scored a pretty good goal. It was a cross from Xhaka, headed in by Thiago. It was a great finish, in off the bar. Thiago's got himself between the centre-back and the fullback. It's like the hardest area to defend. It's come in, and he's headed it downwards. It's hit the ball, man, and there's absolutely no chance for Robin Roefs. And we're sat there in 77 minutes, and I'm sure we will all agree, all who's watching this, that you feel like the game is gone at that point. It's difficult to see us coming back from that, going behind in the Premier League. We talked about it in the preview. It's almost insurmountable at times. It feels like it's such a difficult league. There isn't a lot of chances in the game, and I just thought, it's going to be a really long and hard, game. It's going to be a really, really long, hard season after that one, because you just worry when you go down in the Premier League that you'll lose. And this felt like so winnable. We've had all the issues with, not the issues, but everyone talk about how kind Sunderland's fixture list is. And we've seen that a lot. Sunderland have had a kind fixture list. Therefore, they have to pick up points early on. And when you go 1-0 down against Brentford, you lose last week against Burnley. You do beat West Ham, but there's that caveat with that West Ham have been so bad and they've had such a bad start of the season. you sort of worry, oh, this is going to be a really long, hard season. But Sunderland, they come back into it. They get an equaliser. Rico Henry pulls down Diarra. And again, it's similar to the penalty we conceded with Reinildo. At least it's consistent in there. The referee sees it, spots it, gives a penalty. And we've had the penalty hoodoo for so long now. And we've beaten the penalty hoodoo now. Enzo Lefebvre steps up coolly, slots it away. He does what Schade couldn't. And that was Sunderland at 1-1. And then I thought at this point, Sunderland probably are just going to settle for the point. We weren't great, I don't think, in the game. And I say we weren't great. I thought we were like solid. I just don't think we didn't have any 10 out of 10s on the field, similar to what happened against Burnley last week. Now, I thought a point, it wouldn't have been a bad point, 4 points from the first two. But Sunderland had other ideas, as we often do at the Stadium Light at the moment. It's been crazy the last few months being a Sunderland fan. Xhaka crosses the ball onto Isidor's head. Isidor puts it in. And look, the goalkeeper you can look at, he probably should have saved it, but that's not our problem. Fundamentally, our goalkeeper pulls off a penalty save at the other end, and their goalkeeper, from his perspective, will be devastated that that one's went in. But it's went in. VAR-checked for offside. It took so long that I thought it's obviously going to be overturned. I thought it might have been for the ball going out, maybe, but obviously I'm on the far side of the stadium. I'm in the opposite end, so it's hard to tell from there. So I think it was for offside, potentially on Isidor, but he was onside. And then Sunderland held on for the win, and that's a special 3 points for us. And it's weird. At the end of the game, they had like the cameras from what I presume are the Premier League productions, and they were showing the crowd shots and the crowd reaction for winning a Premier League game, against Brentford, who obviously aren't a glamorous opponent per se. It's crazy like how much it means. And it means so much to win games of Premier League football. Every game's like an event, and to get that one over the line today was massive. Right, let's talk about individual performances. As I said, anyone who's got questions or comments, just let me know. I've got one here. Great win. Difficult to disagree. MPCT Sports. Yes, it was a great win. Individual performances, though. My man of the match was Mukiele. I thought he was unbelievable. I don't know who got it on Rogue Report. They've given it to Enzo Lefebvre. They've given it to. Fair enough. I give it to Mukiele. I thought Mukiele was fantastic. I thought he looked every bit of centre-back. Look, we talked about him coming in and being maybe a right-sided centre-back in a 3 or a right-back, but he was absolutely solid. I mean, I looked at him and I was like, how is he not a centre-back? I thought he was incredible. The way that he defended the box, he's quick, he's physical, he did really well in his aerial duels. I thought he was absolutely fantastic today. So impressed with him. You can see the recruitment that we've made, bringing him in for 10, 12 million, whatever it was. That looks like an absolute steal for us. And he is going to be a massive player because of his versatility. So super impressed with Mukiele today. Thought he was superb. Robin Roefs, he makes the important penalty save. And I thought he looked very, very confident today. I love the way he commands his area. He's calm with the ball. There was a few times where he found Enzo Lefebvre on the left side with fantastic passes. And he just looked so confident. And look, ask yourselves as a Sunderland fan, who would you rather have in nets? Kelleher, who they spent 20-ish million on, or Roefs? And if you look at across the Premier League right now, there's a lot of Man United are having issues with their goalkeeper. There's other teams having issues with their goalkeeper. But we've picked up Robin Roefs here, who looks, and look, we're only 3 games in, but he looks like a hell of a player. He's going to be a Dutch international as well. He was absolutely fantastic today. Andy Reynolds thought the 2 centre-halves did really well against a really strong Managerial and Thiago. Absolutely agree on that one. I thought, yeah, Alderete is such a solid player. He's just, I just love him. I think that's the only way I can put it across. I just think he's a fantastic player. And then sticking him with Mukiele together, they've got everything. Mukiele is obviously quicker, but his physicality surprised me. I was worried seeing Thiago today and seeing that Brentford front line. They've got a scary looking, front. You've got Outarra, Damsgaard, Schade, Thiago. They've got a really scary looking front line, and we dealt with it pretty well. I mean, ask yourselves, how many times in that game did Brentford actually hurt Sunderland? Did they get the goal? They get a soft penalty. But other than that, there wasn't really much there. And look, the teams are going to create things against you. That's the Premier League. That's the way that's going to happen. But I just thought it was excellent the way that we dealt with that as a defence. Enzo Lefebvre, so that's who Rogue Report had as their man of the match, and I thought he was really good, really, really industrious. I've been obviously calling for him. I think a lot of fans have been calling for him to get into the team. I thought was surprised that a Dingred came out, but watching the game, I can kind of see why. I thought Lefebvre defensively was rock solid, but he just has their moments of quality. He took the penalty really, really well, but I really, really enjoyed watching Enzo today, and he's a player that we have to find a way of getting into this team. And I think Regis Labrie has to find a way of getting Lefebvre playing regularly. We know how good of a player he is. He can lock defenses. And I just think it's vital. I mean, he was vital in the second goal for us because he was the one who made the run on the left side. And then he plays it at Xhaka. He does like some good work there. And huge for him to get the goal today. And also just, I think he just should be in the team. I'm really, really impressed. Billy, yeah, happy with the performance and result. Away the lads, hard to disagree. And Regis Labrie needs massive props. He absolutely does. And we'll talk about Regis Labrie in a moment. But other players, the midfield three, I thought they were good. I think in all 3 games this season, we've had a pretty good hand on that midfield area. And it feels like our issues is the final third. It's not, I don't think the defensive third or the middle third. I think the final third is where Sunderland are going to struggle this season. I worry about how many goals we're going to score. But the midfield 3, I thought were excellent today. And Xhaka, I think, had his best game. I thought he was fantastic. Just the way he just controls the middle of the park. He's excellent. I saw a lovely bit today where he was barking at Talby to get into a certain position. And Talby was basically marking on the other side. He was marking on the right side, their fullback. And he was like, no, you need to tuck in because I've got to come forward here and you need to be where I was. I thought it was excellent. I just love watching Xhaka play and control the game. I thought our fullback struggled today. Look, I'm not going to be negative, but I thought Hume didn't have his best game. I think he really, really struggled. I thought Reinildo, he obviously gives away a silly penalty. I didn't think he had a great game either. I thought both left and right back, we struggled there. I also think we need to get the ball in the box more. We're getting a lot of success this season from crossing the ball. And there was just times where we weren't getting it in when we should have. There was a couple of times where we went down looking for really soft penalties, which I was, disappointed in. That's not what you want to see. And I was a little bit disappointed that we weren't getting it in enough. But we get our props in the end. Obviously, Xhaka puts one in for Isidor to head it in. The penalty comes from the ball coming in the box. And I just think we need to do that more. We need to be, really, really aggressive with how much we get the ball in. I did think it was really notable that we were taking the deep free kicks that normally teams take very quickly and pass it. We weren't doing that today. We pumped balls into the box, which I think is really important. We did it at Burnley last week as well, that Ballard header across for Mayenda. We need to do that more and more and more because it really hurts teams. I think we actually have quite a physical advantage over teams. I'm surprised that we do, but I think we have physical advantages over some of the teams, certainly when it comes to offensive set pieces. And I thought we've dealt with defensive set pieces also pretty well. But yeah, I thought we did look for penalties a little bit in the second half after we got the first one. That was disappointing. I'll go through a couple more. Hi, Connor. Yeah, Alan. Hello to you, my friend. And David Williams, Hume was solid too. And I've just talked about the fullbacks there. I thought Hume was defensively okay. I would like to have seen more from him going forward, but that might just be the way that the game went. But I thought Hume wasn't as effective as he often is in the final third. But yeah, defensively rock solid though. And I think the whole team was pretty solid. Let's talk a bit about the manager. He's put in Enzo Lefebvre today. He's put in Mukiele. He could easily have went with Jensen Seelt at centre-back, which I thought he might have done that, especially after Mukiele played midweek. But he's went with Mukiele, and I thought he was fantastic in the game. So well done there. And Lefebvre for Adingra, I looked at that and I thought, well, I'll have Adingra as a bigger threat than Talby right now. And I was surprised he went with Talby over Adingra. But then you watched the game and I thought, yeah, I thought that he got that decision spot on in the end. I thought Lefebvre gave us a lot. I thought Lefebvre was just defensively helps you a lot as well. And I think that Brentford have very good wingers. I've probably done that earlier in this as well. I've probably said Brighton a few times. I always got the two mixed up. I thought Brentford, though, they've got really good wingers. They've got really good forward players. So having a player like Lefebvre there who's a bit more defensively strong, I thought really, really helped us. So I think the manager got his tactics. He got everything spot on today. And I think we have to accept as fans that Sunderland are not going to be this season a team that really blows teams away from start to finish. I just don't think that that's who we are and it's not how we're built. What we are and what we have to take real pride in is the fact that this team is solid. We lost last week against Burnley, but there was nothing in that game. And I think if we can stay in games and have games almost at a nothing stage where you're relying on mistakes from either side or bits of brilliance. We will be in games this season, which means we will pick up points. And that's really, really important because you look at Ipswich, Leicester and Southampton last season, those newly promoted teams really struggled to stay in games. And Ipswich, I think, won 1 home game all season. We've already won 2, and we've beaten teams that are established in the Premier League in doing so. So we have to take massive pride in the fact we've been able to do that. And I think a lot of credit has to go to the manager, a lot of credit has to go to the recruitment team because, you know, they've built a side here where you can see what the point is. Every player they've brought in, you go, right, that makes a lot of sense. I like what they've done with that. And I think you look across the park, you look across the full field today and how we played, and every single player they've brought in, you go, yep, that makes sense. You've got the industry of that middle three. You've got, you know, Siddiqui in there. You've got Diarra. They have such physical traits that you need in the Premier League, and they've slotted us in, and that means we're coping in those midfield battles in games, and that's massive because that's where games are won and lost. If you can't control the midfield, you're struggling. And I think in every game, even if we haven't controlled it, we've been in that battle. I'm just going to go through some more of the comments. Gary Hoyle, we still need that experienced striker to finish off those half chances, as we could had the game wound up before the hour, but really happy with the overall performance. Yeah, I think touching on the forward line, if you were to look at the Sunderland team, the one area which is concerning is the final third. I don't think we are creating tons of chances. We aren't like, you know, racking up huge XG. And I know people don't necessarily care about XG, but essentially it's chance creation. We aren't creating loads of chances in games. What we are is we're keeping ourselves in games defensively, and we look really organised defensively. But in that final third, I think we are really struggling to connect. I think like Mayenda isn't involved a lot in the games. He had one really good turn today, but he's not involved huge amounts. And I think we are struggling to get our forward players involved. I think that we are a little bit as well. We aren't taking risks in the final third. I want to see me wingers dribble the opposition fullbacks and really try to take them on. And often we're just passing it backwards. We're trying to we don't want to risk losing the ball. Like, I understand that, and I get that that's probably an incentive from the manager to be like, we don't want to lose possession cheaply. But if you want to win games of football, you have to take risks at times. Anyway, Alan Gardner back in again. Balls into the box is all well and good, but generally I don't think Mayenda is the right front man, as he's limited to the type of goals he'll get. And I think that I kind of understand the thought on this. I think Isidor has like a bit of an X factor where he can kind of score goals from nothing, whereas Mayenda is a little bit different. But I think Mayenda's industry is why he's in there, and I think Mayenda has the ability to do things on his own, much like Isidor as well, to be fair. But I think I can see why Mayenda sort of is almost tiring the defenders, and then they bring on strikers to finish them off. That I presume that's the thought process. But I think we'll see Isidor get more time, and will Isidor move on to the left more? Possibly, yes. And I think that we'll see Isidor move into that role more and more this season. Sunderland can play at this level. Well done. I'll disagree. And Gary, icing on the cake for Wilson after his unbelievable week. Yeah, has a baby on Friday, I think it was. Well, he didn't have the baby, did he? To quote Roy Keane, he didn't have the baby. But he, has a baby. His wife has it, or his partner has a baby. Then he scores the winner. So what a weekend for him. Right, so let's talk about Brentford, I suppose. A couple of notes on them. Jordan Henderson, I thought, was excellent. He got a good ovation before the game. He got a good ovation after the game. I thought he looked really, really good. And I think that I was surprised how good he looked. He looked very industrious. I know he only lasted like an hour. Maybe he might have lasted a little bit longer. But I thought that he was very, very good. So I was surprised at how impressed I was with him. Outarra, I thought, was a threat all game. He obviously had the offside goal, but I thought he played really well. And that Nathan Collins they've got at the back. What an absolute... I mean, I talked about Mukiele being a man mountain, but that Nathan Collins, he is a hell of a centre-back. I mean, he is such an impressive player. I thought he looked fantastic all game. I'd be interested to know who you guys thought played well for Brentford, but Nathan Collins, I thought he was their man of the match. I thought he was possibly the best player on the park. Kelleher for them, we touched on that with Robin Roefs. Who would you rather have in net, Robin Roefs or Kelleher, and who costs more money? That's all I'll say on that one. I thought Kelleher looked dodgy. He spilled one early in the game. I think he should do better for the goal. I don't care. We win. So I'm not going to whinge too much about it. Gary Hoyle, too many people criticising Mayenda. He's still developing. It is not the finished article yet, but he will improve. I agree. I'm sold on Mayenda. Look, if you think about it this way, if we bought Eliza Mayenda this summer, and you were looking at him, you would expect to probably pay 20 to 30 million for a player like that, a player of his age and a player of his ability. So we've picked him up for minimal cost. And, I think he looks, I'm not saying he looks like he's going to score 20 Premier League goals, but I don't think he looks uncomfortable in the Premier League. I think he looks pretty solid. So I've been very, very impressed with Mayenda, and he scored on the opening day. That was a vital goal to set us off against West Ham. And, today he didn't really get much of a sniff, but I thought he did all right. So, final thoughts before I love you all and leave you all. I think it's important to win games when you're not playing at your best. And I don't think Sunderland played at their best. Sunderland will play better this season and probably lose. I thought that everyone on the pitch was really solid, and everyone played a solid game. But I don't think we were amazing across the park. We won that game through industry and effort and physicality and all those good things. And that's really, really important. And that's not a slight. That's just how you win games in the Premier League. I watched the Leeds-Newcastle game before, and Leeds looked quite similar to us in the fact that they look sort of organised. They're just not creating chances. And we aren't creating bundles of chances, but I think what we maybe have over Leeds United is I think we've got a strong bench. You look at who we bring on today, and we were able to change the game in a way with our substitutions. I don't think Leeds necessarily have that. So I think we're in almost a better position. In the home wins, 2 wins from 2 at home. Look, we were all devastated last week when we dropped points and lost at Burnley. But the fact of the matter is our Premier League survival is probably going to rely on the fact of us winning 9 home games this season. That is probably how we survive. You win like 9 home games, you maybe pick up 1 or 2 away from home. That is just how you do it. That's the blueprint. That's how we did it under Roy Keane in 07-08. I think we won like 2 away games all season that year. We just were really good at home. That's how we do it. Brentford are no mugs. Don't let the early season predictions, even from people like me who had them in the bottom 3, they are a decent Premier League team. They're a strong Premier League team. They've beaten Aston Villa. They've beaten Bournemouth in the week before. And we got through them today. And not only did we get through them, we were 1-0 down on 77 minutes. If you told anyone in that stadium when we were 1-0 down on 77 minutes, we were going to win 2-1, nobody would have believed you. And I think we've got to take masses of pride in the fact that we were able to do that, because that's it's so important to your survival. Any news on Lusumi? I don't know. I think he played for Bologna today, so I don't know what that means. I think we still need a centre back, and I still think we need a centre back. But yeah, Leeds have a better bench than ours. What you smoking? I don't know. Well, maybe they do. I mean, I'm not going to argue with you if that's your opinion, but I look at Sunderland's bench today, and Dan Neal's played a lot of games in the Championship. I know there's issues around him. Mark Gio, or say his name wrong. So he looks all right. Patrick Roberts, Chris Rigg, Wilson Isidor. We've got players that can change games. I suppose that's what I'm saying. And I watched that Leeds game today, and I didn't think their substitutions didn't change things. I think they brought on Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and I'm not sold on him, but there we go. Smash and grab. All the squad are pulling in the right direction. Yeah, that's exactly it. And I feel like we've got a real connectivity with supporters and players. And when that happens, it's beautiful. I mean, what a few months it's been to be a Sunderland fan. We are nowhere near the bottom 4. We have not clicked yet. I presume that's a Sunderland fan. Yeah. And I thought Reggie was talking shite when he talked about the energy, but he certainly proved it today. Interesting, yeah. I find it very interesting when football managers prove that we're all idiots. So, yeah, sometimes you learn that. I've learned many a time when I've questioned managerial decisions that sometimes you are wrong. So, anyway, I think that just about sums it up. I'll do another video probably when I've digest this properly. Oh, there we are, Will. Yes, a CFC fan. I hope we are nowhere near in the bottom 4. I'll click this comment. Where are you? Nowhere near in the bottom 4. We have not clicked yet. Yeah, I hope we aren't. I think that's a really important point, though. Like, this is a brand new team, like, in it. So we are at a stage right now where we have a new group of players. We had, like, today, new signings came through this summer. Roefs, Mukiele, Alderete, Reinildo, Habib Diarra, Xhaka, Sadiki, Talbi, and, well, Lefebvre doesn't really count. So like, we brought in loads of new players. Even off the bench, Gio came on and Adingra came on. We've brought on so many new players. And the fact is that we are only going to get better with time, provided obviously we can stay away from injuries. And yeah, we should in theory get better. The fact we've picked up 6 points from our first 3 games is a really positive sign. Dan Hodgson would definitely start Rig instead of Talby. It's an interesting debate, that one. I mean, I think Talby is pretty industrious. I just think he needs to get a bit of confidence behind him. Performances are irrelevant when you're getting points on the board. I agree, Gary. They are. We'll have a fullback line when the AFCON comes in, bro. Yeah, hard to disagree. And our next win is likely Wolves at home in 50 days, so enjoy this one, lads. Well, there always has to be one downer. We could beat Aston Villa. Maybe. Brentford beat Aston Villa. They could beat Aston Villa. We beat Brentford. There's a chance there. So, yeah, maybe it will. Yeah, not as many games in the Premier League compared to the Championship. And last one we'll read for today. They've gelled so well after a short period of time, they can only get better too. Yes, I agree. So thanks, everyone, for watching the stream today and watch it back. Please like, subscribe, comment as well. Let me know what you think. I always interact with comments generally, as long as they're positive. And yes, enjoy the 3 points. As Rory says at the end of the game, enjoy the 3 Premier League points. Watch Match of the Day, the Football League show, and everything else. Inject it, because we might not get a lot of wins this season, but it is nice when you get one. And think about where we were last week when we lost against Burnley, and we were also negative, and where we were on 77 minutes when Brentford scored. Then we sit here at 8:15 on Saturday evening before the transfer deadline closes in a good mood. We've got some good content as well coming. Before I let you go, I'll do another match review. I've got on Tuesday, Old Endon, the YouTuber. He is coming on, and we're going to talk about all the transfers that Sunderland have made and discuss them in depth. So that'll be really good as well. And thanks everyone for watching this, and we'll catch you very, very soon for more Sunderland videos.